Welcome to the very first Thorn Theater ranking video. I'm Alex Thorn and I'm a rock and roller when it's downtime, and I've had a lot of downtime lately, likes to watch movies while wearing a bandana. And the movies that I chose to watch in the last month or so is the Scream franchise. I decided to go back and revisit it because my son is a huge Scream fan. I didn't know this at all until about 3 months ago or so, and I'm guessing it was because he saw some shorts on YouTube or something. It really came from school, and I remember telling him, "What do you mean you're such a huge Scream fan? You've never even seen one movie," and yet he loves the image of Ghostface. I said, "You know what? Tell you what, dude, let's go back and watch Scream." But he said, "I want to watch the newest Scream." So we actually ended up starting with the ending first, part 5, and then I was like, hey, we're gonna go back and watch 1, 2, 3, 4 and make sense of it all. And I'm telling you, I don't think there was a bad one in the bunch, but that's why we've come here. This is gonna be on a playlist for Scream franchise reviews, and it's gonna be right there. So if you want to watch this first, that's on you. But I want you to know something. If you have not watched the series, this one is going to include spoilers versus the reviews have not. I did not review any of the killers in the individual reviews, but in this one, we're going to talk about them too. My least favorite Scream is going to be bottom of the barrel, and that's that these are not bad at all. But my least favorite Scream is actually Scream 2. A lot of people's favorite, I know, but Scream 2 honestly just felt like it got so big. One of the comparisons to me, my favorite franchise of all time is Nightmare on Elm Street. And, 1 is small, 2 gets a little bit bigger, 3 gets a big jump, and then 4 is like the most expensive nightmare of all time. But you see, it's a gradual thing. With Scream, it went from like a smaller production to, oh yeah, part 2 is a huge production. And it honestly took away some of the effect to me, some of the specialness of the movie, especially after you come from part 1. And I maybe back then, because I did see these in real time, by the way. I think I saw Scream 1 shortly before Scream 2 released on VHS. We went and rented it. So, it had a different effect on me back then. And I didn't think much of this series, to be honest with you, throughout the entire history of it until now. But it is quickly growing to be one of my favorite series. But part 2 it's just too big. It's too unbelievable. It's too much. And the reveal, the killers at the end of part 2, it being Billy's mother and the film student. I don't know her name, but I know she's from Roseanne, the woman that plays Billy's mother. And that's where I know her the most from. And I just could not get away from seeing her as that character on Roseanne. And the other guy, hey, I've got the perfect thing, I'm gonna blame it on the movies. I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. So Scream 2 is at the bottom of the list for me. We're gonna follow that up with Scream 1. Scream 1 for me is just a little too safe. It's a great movie. It still holds up surprisingly well. The pace is great, all of that. But I don't know if it's because I've seen the movie so many times over the years since its release on VHS that it has less impact on me now. I understand the impact it had on the horror genre. I certainly do. But for me, in terms of the flow of the movies, I actually don't enjoy it as much. It seems very dated. It's crazy because you go from part 1 to part 2 and the way those movies move, the way the characters are fleshed out, the way they look is so different. But Scream 1, it's just a little, especially with the rest of the movies in terms of enjoyability, the reveal of Billy and his best friend, who was so fucking annoying in that movie, and I guess that was his job to be that annoying. It's iconic. I get it. I know. It plays a huge part even as the story goes on, especially once we get to the latest film, part 5. But for me, and this is my ranking, you can rank them differently, it's going to be worst 2, followed up by part 1. Then I'm going to go to Scream 3. Scream 3, which is so breakneck speed, it actually brings it back to part 1 that I'm complaining about, I know. It brings it back, but it's so meta in revealing, or not revealing, but recounting part one, and it goes to the beat of part one, but quicker. And it's the killer is reenacting the original Scream sequence, and they have this whole trilogy thing going on. I like that a lot. And the only thing that lets Scream 3 down for me, it's much more enjoyable. Act 1 and 2 is super enjoyable. The only thing that lets it down is the killer at the end. The killer being Sydney's stepbrother that she never knew she had. And then they add that new storyline with the mother, which is kind of hard for you to carry a storyline with somebody who's dead. And then they add her as a ghost in there too, which is really taking a chance for this series because it's not very Scream-like. You know, we haven't seen that up to this point. Part 3 actually feels like the most 80s Scream that exists. Right, 1 is very 1996, very new age. 2 is very big budgeted, and it feels like I still know what you did, or I know what you did last summer, and all these other movies that copied Scream. Suddenly, Scream fits into that formula. But 3 to me kind of feels more like urban legends. It feels like an 80s slasher film because everything is happening really fast, and I enjoyed it all the way up to the third act. Now let's go to my next one, and that's going to be Scream 4. Man. I was not expecting the ending of that movie. And as I said in the review, I tried to watch that movie twice. I made it to like 15 minutes each time, or maybe 20 max. And I was just like, oh, this is campy. The music was weird. The camera was weird. But then once you get into the third act of that movie, man, oh man, is it good. The reveal of it being Sydney's niece. And I'm guessing because the reason that Sydney's niece had a different effect than Sydney's stepbrother is it made sense to me. It really did. Like, if Sydney did not come back into Woodsboro, then she would not have all this stuff happening to her. But at the very same time, when she's revealed and gives her motive of it being all her life, all she's heard about is Sydney, and I want to be the new Sydney. I want the spotlight turned on me. The way she did it, the way she, beat herself up, the way she killed her own boyfriend, everything about it was just like, what? And then the other killer that was in the movie, which was the lame, movie guy or whatever he was, he just was really soft. I couldn't imagine him doing any of the things that the kills that were done in the movie. That's how good that third act is that it pushed it above Scream 3, Scream 1, and Scream 2. And then that only leaves one more, and that is the latest film version of Scream, Scream 5. And the reason that is ranked as my favorite Scream is because from beginning to end, it was enjoyable. The killers, I couldn't guess what it was. I was like, no, it's this one, no, it's this one, no, it's this one. And it's not as shocking because you don't know these people. The killers are new, and they're not attached to Sydney in that way. But what I did like is that Sydney and Gale are, and Dewey, I'm going to get to him in a second, but Sydney and Gale are not like in the movie throughout the whole movie. Dewey is obviously David Arquette. He finally gets killed off. And I'm telling you, I know that if you're a diehard Scream fan, you don't think that anybody from the original should get killed off. These are all legacy characters that should remain. But as time goes on, you have to fucking kill these people. You have to get rid of them and cut them out of the script because we got to make way for new people and new. These guys are getting old. How much more can they take? Especially Gale and Dewey. Not that Gale dies in this, but Dewey and her, they've been shot, they've been stabbed. There's been so much happen to them from part 1 on that it's like they're not going to survive that much more. And the only letdown, I would say, of Scream 5 for me, and it's because it's so enjoyable overall that I can let it go, is I don't care for the cast. They're not very engaging. I don't like the main character being Billy's daughter. I want them to really stop reaching back to the original. I get it. I do. Let's talk about it in the comments. But I want them to really, start moving away from that because, one of the things that everybody's upset for is in the upcoming part 6, supposedly Neve Campbell will not be a part of it. And I'm okay with that. I mean, after seeing her in 1 through 5, she is, Heather Langenkamp, Jamie Lee Curtis level of final girl. She is so good. But I don't need the movies tied to her forever. The fact that she was in the first 5 and probably will come back in part 7 or 8, you never know. That's how these things go. There's a movie without her. Give her a break. That's all good. It's all cool. But like I said, the cast and the main character of this movie being tied back to Billy and him being her daughter, that's the only thing I didn't care for. But overall, from beginning to end, it is a very gruesome movie, which I love that for the Scream series. The cinematography and the choreography, everything about it is just really good. The effects are really good. So that's why I rank it as my top Scream. But there's also somebody else who you got to talk to who has a Scream ranking. Go ahead, take it over, Sean.
5's my first favorite. 1's my second favorite. 2's my third favorite. 4's my fourth favorite. And 3's my fifth favorite.
See, his ranking is different from mine. So mine goes, again, let's wrap this up. Mine goes from least to best. It's going to go Scream 2, Scream 1, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 5. All right, give me your rankings down below. This has been a blast. Thank you guys for sticking with me through this whole Scream franchise deal. There's more to come, and you know what I gotta do? I gotta rock out and then watch some movies.